body to review contracts in the oil and the electricity sector.
Furthermore, Mr. Benjama said the A3+ group see foreign interference, arms inflows, and fuel smuggling as key obstacles to peace in Libya, urging the withdrawal of all foreign forces and respect for Libya's sovereignty.
A political solution in Libya remains elusive in the face of growing external interference. This situation is further aggravated by a significant flow of arms and fuel smuggling in a blatant disregard of relevant Security Council resolution. We therefore demand the immediate withdrawal of all foreign forces, foreign fighters and mercenaries. Libya's foreign sovereignty, independence and territorial integrity must be respected. As days turn into months and months stretch into years, Libya remains trapped in an endless cycle of transitions. This situation has only worn down the people of Libya, who, if it had been allowed to shape their own destiny, would have long secured peace and stability.
The A3+ group stressed that any roadmap for Libya must be Libyan-led to unify institutions and enable free, fair and transparent elections, while also supporting calls to recalibrate the United Nations support mission in Libya, UNSMIL, to better fulfill its mandate. On the occasion, the A3+ group urged the Security Council to move beyond crisis management and confront those hindering Libya's peace, acknowledging past mistakes. It noted ongoing uncertainty but welcomed progress by the Presidential Council and the Government of National Unity to ease tensions, restore state control and prevent militarization in the capital, while supporting security reforms, the dissolution of armed groups and the upcoming municipal elections.
During the meeting, the Special Representative of the Secretary General for Libya and head of UNSMIL, Hannah Sarwa Tete, emphasized that strong international and regional support is essential to advance Libya's political roadmap.
As we move forward in implementing successive milestones of the roadmap, international and regional unwavering support remains an important prerequisite to achieve success. To consolidate this international support for the political roadmap, on the 25th of September, we convened the political working group of the Berlin process in plenary session, the first meeting after nearly a 3-year hiatus. Held at the ambassadorial level in Tripoli, participants welcomed the roadmap and encouraged all relevant actors to engage in good faith to achieve a Libyan-led and Libyan-owned political solution, facilitated by UNSMIL. Participants also underscored the importance of accountability for any obstruction, while stressing the key role of the international community to support the process. I thank these members and encourage all member states that are seeking to advance initiatives to do so in coordination with UNSMIL, so as to help ensure coherence among the international community in support of Libya.
That was the Special Representative of the Secretary General for Libya and head of UNSMIL, Hannah Sarwa Tete. As you followed in our top stories, at the United Nations General Assembly Special Political and Decolonization Committee in Geneva, Algeria has expressed concern over the fate of the Sahrawi people. The Algerian representative reiterated the right of the Sahrawi people to a self-determination referendum, calling on the United Nations to take crucial measures to organize the long-awaited referendum.
إن بلدي يبدي قلقا بالغا إزاء مصير الشعب الصحراوي في الصحراء الغربية.
Algeria is deeply concerned over the fate of the Sahrawi people in the Western Sahara, the last colony in Africa. Algeria reiterates that the Sahrawi people have the right to self-determination. This is of paramount importance, and this is a sacred principle that cannot be subject to negotiations or compromise. For Algeria, the current reality and the future of the Sahrawi people is one to be determined by the Sahrawis. We will support any definitive sovereign decision taken by the Sahrawi people in determining their future and the fate of their territory. The Western Sahara must remain an agenda item until the Sahrawi people can exercise their inherent right to self-determination. The UN must take crucial measures in order to organize this long-awaited referendum so that the people can choose with their free will their fate.
حتى يتسنى للشعب الصحراوي تحديد مصيره بإرادته الحرة.
At the discussions at the UN General Assembly Special Political and Decolonization Committee, petitioner Tim Pluta, who was in the city of Bujudur, has shared his experience and conclusion as a military medic.
I was invited to Western Sahara in 2022 to document the general health of 3 Sahrawi women who had been isolated in their home and prevented from accessing health care for over 480 days in the city of Bujudur. I offer my first-hand observations regarding medical conditions I encountered during my 3-month stay, which reflect the state of human rights and governance in Western Sahara. From a medical health standpoint, my conclusion is that under Moroccan governance, the Sahrawi population in Bujudur, Western Sahara, undergoes systematic, violent, physical and psychological intimidation, repression, and abuse that is not being fully reported to nor recognized by the global community.
Meanwhile, African and Asian countries have reiterated during discussions at the UN General Assembly Special Political and Decolonization Committee their strong support for the Sahrawi people's right to exercise their fundamental right to self-determination and independence. The details with Said Bouazi.
South Africa reiterated its strong support for the decolonization of Western Sahara, urging the United Nations to expedite the holding of the referendum on self-determination for the Sahrawi people, which is their fundamental right under international law. Its representative told the Fourth Commission of the UN General Assembly that his country is particularly concerned about the fate of Western Sahara, the last colony in Africa.
South Africa is particularly concerned about the plight of the people of Western Sahara, the last remaining colony on the African continent. South Africa maintains that the self-determination of the people of Western Sahara is paramount. We will support any final decision that is taken by the Sahrawis on this issue. Self-determination remains a principle that South Africa holds sacrosanct and applies in cases beyond that of the African continent. The issue of Western Sahara should continue to serve on the agenda of this committee until the people of Western Sahara are able to exercise their right to self-determination. No solution can be imposed on the people of Western Sahara.
For his part, the representative of Uganda reaffirmed his country's support for the universally recognized principles of the right of the people of Western Sahara to self-determination and for constructive approaches aimed at seeking a peaceful solution to the conflict through dialogue and political means as recommended by the United Nations. The representative of Mozambique, for his part, stressed that his country remains deeply concerned about the lack of progress towards self-determination in Western Sahara, reaffirming Mozambique's unwavering support for the right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination and independence. The representative of Timor-Leste, for her part, expressed her country's particular concern about the situation in Western Sahara, recognized as the last colony in Africa. Furthermore, the Iranian representative reaffirmed the United Nations' responsibility towards the people of Western Sahara and their inalienable right to self-determination as stipulated in the relevant UN resolutions. He recalled that more than 60 years have passed since the UN Special Committee on Decolonization declared Western Sahara a territory to be decolonized, and that numerous resolutions have so far affirmed the right of the Sahrawi people to freely determine their future.
You're listening to Radio Algeria International. Now to the Middle East. In a new breach of the ceasefire declaration, the Israeli occupation forces continued their attacks on the Gaza Strip, leading to the killing of 44 people, including 38 recovered from under the rubble, and 29 injured were brought to hospitals in the past 24 hours. The UN has confirmed that it has received notification from the Zionist occupation authorities indicating their intention to reduce by half the number of aid trucks scheduled to enter the Gaza Strip out of approximately 600 trucks that the Zionists pledged to allow through after the ceasefire, citing the return of bodies. Deputy spokesperson for the UN Secretary-General Farhan Haq stressed that the international organization calls on all parties to abide by their commitments, including the return of the bodies of deceased prisoners and to implement the remaining provisions of the ceasefire agreement, most notably ensuring the flow of humanitarian aid to civilians in the Gaza Strip. OCHA spokesperson in Gaza, Olga Chervako, has said that since the ceasefire took effect, the United Nations and partners have moved swiftly to scale up the delivery of humanitarian assistance across Gaza. She added that humanitarian support should continue now that the war ended, as Gazans still need aid and assistance.
The ceasefire has ended the fighting, but it hasn't ended the crisis. Displacement, destroyed infrastructure, lawlessness, damaged roads, unexploded ordnance, and the collapse of basic services are just some of the challenges. Scaling up response is not just about logistics and more trucks. It's about restoring humanity and dignity to a shattered population. We're working around the clock with all parties to ensure predictable, safe, and sustained access. But let me be clear, humanitarian aid alone will not be a substitute for peace. The ceasefire must hold. It must become the basis for a broader political effort that brings the end of cycles of violence and despair. The ceasefire has opened the door to a future in which children can go to school safely. Hospitals are places of healing and not suffering. And aid convoys are ultimately replaced by commerce and opportunity. The road is long, but the journey of 1,000 miles begins with just one step, and we will be there with the people every step of the way. What is most important now, that with this new chapter, is that the world doesn't turn the page while the healing has just begun.
That was OCHA spokesperson in Gaza, Olga Chervako. The United Nations Mines Action Service has warned about the severe threat from unexploded ordnance in Gaza. Deputy spokesperson for the Secretary-General Farhan Haq told reporters in a press briefing that it has identified more than 550 explosive ordnance items in areas they have been able to access.
As hundreds of thousands of displaced people and humanitarian workers move through affected areas following the ceasefire, the risk of encountering these deadly remnants of war is high. UNMAS and its partners are working tirelessly to protect communities and stand ready to facilitate humanitarian scale-up and mitigate explosive ordnance risks. Since October 2023, UNMAS has identified more than 550 explosive ordnance items in areas they have been able to access, though the full extent of contamination in Gaza is still unknown. Partners are also delivering risk education for communities since 2023, especially children, and training humanitarian and construction workers to operate safely. Their work is critical to saving lives and enabling aid to reach those in need. Additionally, explosive ordnance disposal officers evaluate debris along roads and within damaged buildings to determine whether areas are safe to clear. Their guidance and technical expertise are crucial for mitigating explosive ordnance risks during these high-risk operations.
Meanwhile, students from Hofstra University in New York organized a massive student march titled Student Voices for Palestine, which set off from Times Square in Manhattan and headed to the United Nations headquarters. Asia Bikar has more.
Participants raised Palestinian flags and chanted slogans demanding an end to the blockade on the Gaza Strip and ensuring that aid reaches the besieged civilians. This came while Spain is preparing for a general strike called by major labor and student unions to protest what they describe as a genocide against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip for 2 years. The strike will be accompanied by 200 demonstrations across the country. Participants are demanding severe relations with the Israeli occupation, drawing on previous international experiences such as the boycott of the apartheid regime in South Africa. The strike coincides with rising popular and union discontent following Israel's attack on the Resilience Flotilla, which set sail from Barcelona with broad European participation to break the blockade of Gaza. Several of the participants were detained by the Israeli Navy in international waters. Santiago de la Iglesia, spokesperson spokesperson for the General Confederation of Workers, said the strike represents an intensification of a long-standing trade union process aimed at forcing a real change in government policies toward the Israeli occupation, including solidarity with the Palestinian people and the severance of political, commercial and cultural ties. For her part, the Secretary General of the Student Union, Coral Campos, affirmed that the student strike is a direct response to the scenes of killing and displacement in Gaza, where the representative of Labor Solidarity and the official spokesperson for the strike, Alvaro Vera, sees the strike as a means to force the government to end its complicity with a state that practices genocide.
Now, the Italian government has decided to appoint the diplomat Bruno Arci as special envoy for the Gaza Strip and intensify the delivery of humanitarian aid to the enclave devastated by 2 years of Zionist aggression. That was said by the Italian Minister of Foreign Affairs Antonio Tajani, quoted by local media, speaking on the sidelines of the conference organized by his centre-right party, Forza Italia. He said that Italy was assessing the situation regarding what can be sent to the Palestinians of Gaza and had already gathered hundreds of tons of food for shipment. He confirmed in this respect that Rome's priority was to increase humanitarian aid to Gaza after the ceasefire came into force last Friday, while ensuring coordination with the international organizations and regional partners. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. Stay tuned.
The international event of the week.